Hello, welcome to another stream. Uh-oh. How did that happen? So, I decided to start the stream mostly because a lot of people kind of don't appreciate Recoded. There's a lot of things that people criticize Recoded about, which kind of ruins the experience for people who have not played it or just will skip over the game entirely because of what has been said in chats and stuff, but not chats, ratings and stuff. Like, people just, they really crap on this game. They really do. And I personally don't like it. I don't like that they crap on this game, so I'm here to defend the game and make sure that everybody knows that this is a game worth playing. It is one of the biggest issues with people who criticize this game is they say it's a retelling of the first game, but if you look at the GBA port, Chain of Memories, that's the same situation, but it's just way worse. At least in this game, you have a bunch of mechanics. The combat's more fluent, and it's not card based. I can't understand why people will give Chain of Memories such good praise, but just crap on this game.
I burned myself, Mom.
Yeah, we're going to take attack. But my thing is, this is a beautiful game, and one of the things that we're going to touch up on is the first world and why it isn't as bad as people say it is. First, I need to decide if I want magic or defense. Probably gonna, give up that. Anyways, so I don't understand how you can sit there and say that this game is bad, but Chain of Memories isn't. I get that Chain of Memories is limited on what it can do in the aspect of GBA and its hardware, but at the same time, it's still pretty bad and pretty clunky. Sure, there's technically 3D atmospheres, but not in the sense that Recoded makes it. And Recoded actually did start off as a fan game, believe it or not. It wasn't until much, much later. It wasn't until much later that it was actually made a proper game in the franchise. And don't get me wrong, I love this game to death. I wish. I just. And you know there's issues with it. But that doesn't mean it's a bad game. For example, yeah, the graphics kind of suck. But for a DS, they're pretty decent. The controls kind of suck, which is why I'm using a controller instead of a D-pad. I have a control stick that I can use, and it gives me much more versatility. But even for when it was released on the DS and it's not emulated, the controls are pretty decent, even with its limitations, with its downsides. Now, this is one of the other things I wanted to touch upon. This is called the command matrix. Now, even if you want to do a level 1 playthrough, what you can do is not install these chips, but I'm going to install them just because I'm not doing a level 1 yet. And these unlock other abilities. Throughout the game, you do actually get other ability or other types of chips, which allow you to still unlock the abilities you want without having to force you to level up. I do believe that later on. Oh, by the way, we're going to turn this critical. I do believe that later on you do get. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, you do get the ability to set your character level despite the actual level ups without the chips. But at the same time, like you can just not put the chips in until you get to that point, and you'll be fine. Now, here's the first world, and I'm going to say this now. This is one of the things I brought up in one of the other streamers' streams, and it's that, yeah, this island is small. There's cut sections, but it's not meant to be the first world. Really, it's not meant to be that world that oh shit. Gray. Can you hear the game? Perfect. Which I will be streaming this game on Twitch at some point, but till that point in time.
Simber, you're not going out. It don't matter how long you sit at that door.
Now, as you can see, that's one of the chips that I was talking about. You can actually manipulate your stats without having to level up, which gives you a greater variety of what you can do and how the game is played. Potion. The reason why this area is so small is because it's meant to be a tutorial section. It's not meant to be an entire world where you can explore. Plus, in the first game, in the first world of the first Kingdom Hearts, you do get to explore pretty much the entire other side of the island, which, like, you already know what's back there. So why should it be added? What's the point? And I much prefer the chip system over the Tetris bull crap that you get in 5.8. Much prefer it. You're right. We're supposed to report back to him. And later on in the game, you get unique keyblades specifically for this game, and you get quite a few ones that are. So it's like, you know. Oh, and I'm not really going to bring up this part yet, but I'm going to wait till I get to the next world. But even though they take out certain areas, they also add or expand the other areas, letting you explore areas that you or sections that you wouldn't be able to in previous games. And you could argue that 358 over 2 days does that as well, but 358 over 2 days doesn't nearly let you explore as much as you want when you want. In order to explore the entire world, you have to play levels specific to those sections before you can even begin to explore. So basically, like the forest in Twilight Town is it's locked to a specific mission. Um, and I think they only give you like 3 areas to explore at a time per mission. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oh, jeez. Oh, jeez. This is bad. Oh, jeez. No, no, no. Please leave me alone. Just stop. Okay, so as you can see, it's already telling us about blocks. It's telling us about these challenge areas. So that's what this world is supposed to be, is an introduction to these new features. Also, my Keyblade is at max level right now, or at least about to be, which should unlock something new once I reach that max. There we go. There's still 2 left? No, there's a few left. Yeah, see, as you unlock the, and this is what I love about these keyblades, is you can upgrade keyblades just by using them, which to me feels much more in line with RPG games. Gray. How many games have I introduced you to that you actually want to try out? I did not mean to use that potion. I wonder if I can get one out of these boxes over here, because I'm going to need a few potions. I'm playing this like I'm playing for the video. Yeah, no, I ain't going to get no potions from these. This boss fight's going to be very difficult because I wasted my potions. In the tutorial level, it doesn't give you many potions to work with, so, which I think is actually perfect.
No,
Ooh.
get out from behind there. It's not what you're telling them.
Oh, geez. Oh, geez. Okay. That's okay.
Kill you, thing. Right there.
Fire. We're going to try that again. When we get to the next world, we'll discuss more, or at least, no, because there's still stuff to do in this world. Ooh. There we go. So that's our final potion. I don't feel like wasting it, so I'm going to save it for the boss fight. There should be a save point over here I can use to go ahead and heal. Yep.
Kimba.
Now I get why people love this place because it's like this and the very first game I think are the only two that feature Destiny Island. Technically, Birth by Sleep does, but not in a sense that.
I was watching you play the video game.
Mother. Uh-oh. No. Come on, we're off. Now, this boss fight is a perfect tutorial because it has 3 different phases, and each one is progressively harder. That was not what I meant to hit. All right, so that's phase 1. Phase 2 is a little bit. Oh, ow. It's a little bit harder because you have to hit all 3 of those blocks on his arms to stun him before you can do any actual damage to him. Frick. Oh, jeez. There we go. Ah, I need combo. There we go. Final hit. And I couldn't even get it in. And boom. All right, third and final phase incoming. Oh, geez.
Give us a cigarette.
Ooh, ooh. Oh, shit. I'm trying to see this potion. Yeah, this boss fight is just perfect for a tutorial. No! You son of a bitch. I accidentally used my potion. Oh, jeez. Uh-oh. Ow. Not, but it's not too easy either. I did that on critical, the hardest mode. Gray. Gray. Shit.
Let's give you
Gray? All right, so now we're in a new world, and this is where I'm going to go into deep detail about what all we're going to come across. So, to begin with, these worlds are not the same as. Ooh. Yeah, chat's not working again. But I can't see chat. Now, as you saw from the tutorial world, oops, the worlds aren't as big, or at least they are. They just why does it keep switching? Hold on.
Who did?
Ike, can you open that?
How'd she die?
So demon killed her. Maybe with the underworld with Cole. But they were supposed to.
Here.
It was supposed to stop
Now.
that. Never.
We did not get a Keyblade from that first world. I admit that, but at least I don't think we did. No. Okay. So I know that the worlds aren't as big and grand, supposedly, as the first Kingdom Hearts, but I'm gonna tell you now, these worlds are bigger than Kingdom Hearts 1. People criticize this game for not having all the areas that Kingdom Hearts 1 had, but excuse me, there are areas that you couldn't explore in Kingdom Hearts 1 that you can explore in this game, which to me is far superior than the first game. I'm not bashing on the first game. The first game was a good game, but this game is its own title. This game has its own mechanics, its layouts, its maps. Like, I get that they're the same locations, but the maps are slightly tweaked to be more interesting. For example, I do remember slightly the Agrabah cave system in the first game. It was small.
Why did they kill off her?
Now, what I will say is Kingdom Hearts 1 is legendary. It's the first game. It's got its faults, but you know what? So does every other Kingdom Hearts game out there, including Birth by Sleep, 3582 Days, and even Recoded. But Recoded is worth the play. I mean, come on, it even ties into Kingdom Hearts 3 or 2, one of them. Basically, Sora ends up reading a bottle that was sent to him at the end of one of the games. That was foretelling the story that happened with the data journal. And in that
I
case,
really didn't even like her on the show.
it kind of validates that that it's an important story.
That's why I said
Um,
I pretty much got Phoebe's power except for the flight shit. I did premonition. You know what I'm saying?
What?
Active power. Premonitions are considered a passive power if you don't actually fight with it. Now the levitating and shit that she's getting, that's a
anyways, as I was saying, where was I? The worlds are their own. They have their own sections, and I'll be streaming this on Twitch, so of course you'll be able to see it yourself. But when it comes down to Kingdom Hearts Recoded, it's not meant to be a retelling of the story, but rather the telling of how the story almost got lost due to the journal that I believe his name is Jiminy Cricket or something like that. Um, had recorded in the journal throughout the first game. And I mean, yeah, it's kind of stupid, but it's also very interesting. And then there's also the whole new keyblades, the combat system. Everything just feels fresh and new, and wow, it's just amazing. The chip system. The chip system is vastly preferred by me personally over the uh, Tetris style system that is on 358 over 2 days. 358 over 2 days, to me, is more of a. It's like, to me, it feels like I'm playing or watching a movie that lets you make choices throughout the game, except for those choices are just combat sections. It doesn't feel like a game, it feels like a movie. And a very, very long and tedious movie at that. Um, I don't know. I just don't understand how people can sit there and say that Recoded is trash when Recoded is more traditional to the Kingdom Hearts formula uh, than 358 over 2 days is. And to me, that alone, that in itself, is enough to prove that Recoded is a good game. It's a masterpiece for handheld, and if you couldn't play the first Kingdom Hearts or never got the opportunity, even to this day, but more so specifically back before the remasters or the whatever you call them for Xbox, PlayStation came out, then you could play this and get a general idea of how the story went. Of course, Sephiroth isn't in the story, so you don't, you miss out on some parts, but for the most part, you do get a general basis of what the story is about. I think personally that Recoded cut out a lot of the worlds that to me were boring, frustrating, and tedious, such as the jungle from George of the Jungle. Uh, Definitely Atlantis. Oh, if they added Atlantis to this game to recode it, I would be done. I do not like Atlantis in any of the games. Um, I feel like, yes, it is missing some worlds, but are those worlds really, truly necessary for the story, especially the one they're trying to tell? I mean, if that was the case, if they added all those, every single world from Kingdom Hearts 1 you'd end up with another game a lot like 358 over 2 days, which is more story driven and less actual Kingdom Hearts, in my opinion. Uh, Kingdom Hearts Recode also has parts in it that, like the puzzles. Some of the puzzles are fantastic. Like, for example, when you go to Castle Oblivion and you visit those rooms to access, like, the secret ending. There's one room in particular that I remember off the top of my head. It is the Traverse Town room, and in that room, you get to. There's 3 different endings, but in order to get the good ending, you have to remember the order that you collected the 3 little dogs, Huey, Dewey, and Stewie, I believe. No, Huey, Dewey, and Louie. That's it. You need to remember the order that you collected them in, because without remembering that order, you will not get the good ending. And I'm going to tell you now, collecting all the endings is encouraged. And, it's endgame content, I get that, but there's also quite a few secret bosses if you revisit some of the world, do some of the extra challenge sectors, and, especially Olympus Coliseum. Now, Olympus Coliseum actually ties in that Kingdom Hearts, that Final Fantasy style gameplay into the Kingdom Hearts aspect. What it does is it lets you explore the underworld, and as you go, you run into enemies, and when you run into these enemies, you do actually encounter them in a Final Fantasy style, you know, way. When you run into an enemy or hit an enemy, what it does is put you in a turn-based combat system where you and your party, which by the way is very interesting, you actually get to team up with, I believe, Cloud and Hercules. Each character having its own abilities and special spells that you can perform. Of course, Sora can perform whatever spell you have. You can even combine spells to do more powerful attacks like Zeus's Wrath, which I believe instantly wipes the entire screen of enemies. However, there's a cooldown for each of these spells, and if you mix them together, it's a lot of strategy actually. Um, Mixing together the spells will uh, do great damage, but that means that you have individual spells to use on attacks until it cools down, and that means that you're doing basic attacks. On top of that, uh, there's a action sequence where you can hit the A button to do multiple attacks. If you miss even one input, then you do not complete the combo. But if you do hit all 3 inputs, or 4 or 5, or how many there are, you do significantly more damage even without the spells. So you could theoretically take down, let's say, some of the bigger enemies within 1 to 2 combos if you time it correctly. The game just adds these beautiful, beautiful differences from the first Kingdom Heart that make the run so much more enjoyable. Um, I personally did not like one version where you would get the boss from Kingdom Hearts 1 in Alice in Wonderland. You do fight that one, but it flips your screen upside down, right side up, and all around. And you have to jump over these puddles on the floor that will harm you. Um, I personally don't like that fight because it reverses the controls. It's hard to tell when you need to jump or even how to jump. There are times that I press up and or I press down because it looks like you have to press down to jump, or I don't remember. It was either that or I press up because I thought that's how you jump. But turns out the controls are kind of reversed when in that format. So, like running left makes him run right from your perspective because he's upside down. Um, like it's an on-rail shooter. That's probably one of the only bosses that I don't like in the game. There's a 2D section which I really find interesting. Um, in Traverse Town, the Traverse Town boss fight is really, really interesting and cool. Probably not the best, but it's really freaking cool. So you're running through the districts in a 2D format, sort of like Mario, and you can rack up score. Which, by the way, I'll bring up score again in a sec. You can rack up points simply by killing the enemies on the way. And then the final boss is also a 2D, which is fantastic. Now, they don't make it to where you can't win because that kind of would be unfair, but they do make it challenging. You have to learn the pattern of the boss in the 2D platform version because you can't exactly dodge in a 3D space, so you have to go run under them when they're doing a stomp attack and stuff like that. Um, it's fantastic. Um, and about the score, the higher score you get, the higher grade you get at the end. And getting those higher scores and grades will get you extra items that will help you throughout the rest of the game. So yes, I can understand why people feel like it's not traditional because it's not as grindy, but you're putting in just about as much grind when you're doing the side stuff as you would in the main game, just grinding levels. Um, so it's like I don't see the issue. I really don't. And when you sit there and say that 358 over 2 days is better because uh, Recoded is just a retelling, you cannot sit there and tell me that Recoded is a retelling when the GBA port of Chain of Memories is basically the same thing, except for it adds almost every level in the game. Here is my problem. With that, you're extending the playtime even further and dealing with the fact that you're in a Game Boy 3D space. Graphics are kind of bad, and not only that, but you're using a card system. Who wants to use a card system in combat? Um, so and then there's also the keyblades. I want to go over keyblades. So we're going to go ahead and real quick while we do this. The keyblades in the game are fantastic, and I'm going to point out some of the best keyblades in the game. So we're going to go to Kingdom Hearts Recoded. Keyblades. So for you have, I believe, Three Wishes is. I know 01 is specific to the Metal Chocobo. Ultimate Weapon. No, Ultimate Weapon was in. That is crazy. But what you're looking at here is the keys that are. I know for a fact that 01 to me, which is to me, is the one of the best, if not the best, keyblades in the game. You get basically uh, yeah, you get it basically end of the Castle Oblivion, which is, wow, it is so good. Either that or at the beginning, I can't really remember. But then you got Oathkeeper, which is iconic. You got Ultimate Weapon, which is also iconic. You also have unlockables for Score Attack, which is fantastic. Just some of the stuff that they do in this game is fantastic. It's amazing. Lionheart, I believe, isn't that from? It's like the reward worth 348,000 in Hidden Sector in Traverse Alleyway. Okay, so yeah, a lot of the keys are really unique. They really are. Oathkeeper, Keyblade that will guard you from many hurts. Its powers help accelerate your growth. Maybe look at stats of 0-1.
No, I would attack my foot when I put it.
Level required kills, blah blah.
That stays simple.
Zero one. Attack upgrade. There are none. Okay. Auto dodge. All critical. Auto payback. Magic upgrade. Attach slow. Targeting. Telescope. Still money. Slow counter. And then for the last magic upgrade, you get heavy blade. These are really good ones. I'm going to check ultimate weapon. Protect. Brick wall. Undo. Yeah. So, yeah, these are good. Welcome back. So yeah, these keyblades alone are enough to keep you for the game is ended. But there's also secret bosses. You also have side quests, which is really interesting. That you basically complete extra sectors to get special items to get to characters, which will then give you a reward. I know it sounds like a huge process and a huge whole.
I didn't know you were going to be there.
Ooh.
No, I need that. Ask Kenny, can you use it? And you better not mess it up.
What percentage is on?
40?
Yeah.
I just plugged it in, remember? Plus, I
Um,
don't think this is plugged into the actual box.
Anyways, so basically, you got these side quests, secret bosses. You have the. I don't want to spoil anything, but there's a special ending after you get to the end of Castle Oblivion that really is interesting. And it touches up on what happens because Pete and Maleficent are actually not part of the data. They essentially enter through an outside portal, sort of, and make their way into the data journal and start causing mayhem for Data Sora. I forget what the whole point of them doing that is, but I do know that they still hate Sora. They still want him finished. And I guess deleting the memory could, I don't know. But the whole point is it goes into so much more minor details that kind of expand on the original adventure. To me, that's enough for me to buy the game, play it, beat it, and in this case, I have tried to 100% it, but I keep losing my save data in the process only because I'm using emulator. But eventually, I will complete it 100%. Let's talk about the movesets. So in the game, you have different finals, which some of them are tapping buttons, some of them are straight up just fill up your power gauge to max because there's 4 different levels. Level 1, 2, 3, and max. Then you get a final burst, which does major damage. I'm not going to show off those moves yet. I'm going to say that for a Twitch stream. But, to me, I have ADHD. I can't sit there and play a story-driven game where 90% of the game is text or talking or movies. It gets boring. It really, really gets boring. It's like, to me, that's also like fan service. You're just sitting there giving them good story when, in fact, I personally feel like if you go watch 3582 Days right now on one of the consoles, because all they do is show the movie version, you will learn everything you need to know from the console just by watching those videos, because that's 90% of the game. The rest, the other 10% is sure combat, item management, buying stuff, but for the most part, all you have to do is watch the cutscenes. So go to the remixes, I believe they're called. Just watch that, and you're golden. Whereas something like Recoded should have had a better port rather than just the movie sequences. Because in the movie sequences, they give a few cutscenes, maybe 2 or 3 throughout the entire world. Then it cuts to the end world cutscene and then moves to the next. So you might have maybe an hour, probably less, of movie for the game, and in fact, it is kind of disappointing because it doesn't even show you what's really going on. Another thing that I think Recode does better is you learn about what's going on by playing the game rather than watching the game. I don't know why people think that it is so much better when you can just watch the game. And then, and on top of that, they give the game so much praise for its story, but then they get bummed out when they don't release the game as a remake for the final mixes. Dude, you're basically playing the game. It's all cutscenes. Why are you complaining? 3582 Days is pretty much cutscenes. If you sit here and tell me that is a disappointment, I'm sorry, I'm going to point out the fact that this is the game. You can't tell me that it's not the game, because in the game, including the intro boss fights, the outro boss fights, the conversations, even the tower eating ice cream. Come on, dude, you're watching the game. It's the same thing as if you were playing a DS, except for without the combat and the potions and all that stuff and item management. And you're not leveling up. That's the only difference. Now, if you go to Kingdom Hearts Recoded, that's a different story. You need to play the game to understand it, or you're going to be completely lost with the cutscenes.
And this one's dead. Like dead, no fluid. Oh, sorry. You knew I was going to throw it.
So, now, what I will say is, I kind of crap on Chain of Memories for the Game Boy Advance. I am going to go ahead and say I do not hate the game. I just don't like it. I do not hate it. I just don't like it. To me, cards system. And it's not even the combat with the card system. It's more so the fact that everything relies on cards. Entering a new world, you have to have the right card. Entering a new area, you have to have the right card. Sometimes encountering certain enemies, you have to have the right card. Oh, and by the way, I almost forgot. Keys, you have to have the right card. Your keyblade is dependent on the cards you have equipped. How is that fun? If I wanted to play a card collecting game, I'd go to Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Pokemon. Chain of Memories was good for what it did on GBA. But to me, it's not what I consider a full game for a remaster. So let's talk about the remix for Chain of Memories real quick. The remix for Chain of Memories is a huge disappointment. It's just better graphics, more 3D-ish, and that's about it. I don't understand what all the hype is about. I'd play the GBA version just because I know it's the GBA version and it's got its limitations, and it's probably even better than the remaster. But I would not say it's the best. I have played the remaster up until I believe Olympus Coliseum, which it was decent, but again, just like the GBA version, not the best. In fact, out of every Kingdom Hearts I've ever played, Recoded is the only one I did not get bored of halfway through when I first played it. Keyword, when I first played it. When I first played Kingdom Hearts 1, got bored halfway through. Kingdom Hearts 2, I'm not going to lie, I actually did not get bored halfway through. I actually had to give the game back because it was with my friends. But, moving on, Kingdom Hearts 3, I did not get bored, but I felt like it was too easy. Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep, I felt was too short. I did not get bored, but I had to replay the same areas over and over. So it's a disappointment to me. It's overrated. Very overrated. Let's see, what else? 3582 days. I got bored so quick. I didn't even want to play anymore, dude. I got bored after 5, 6, maybe 7 missions, and I was done. I was done. Completely done. Let's see. I did not play Dream Drop Distance. I do want to play it. I heard some bad things about it, but they said some bad things about Recoded, and I played it, and I loved Recoded. I think the ones I enjoyed most were Kingdom Hearts 2 and Recoded. I think those were perfect games. Kingdom Hearts Recoded is not too easy, but it's not too hard either. Even on critical, it's very well balanced. I believe the content in the DS Recoded is actually fantastic. Like, when you add that much endgame content, not enough for it to be half the game is endgame content, but not too little to where you just don't want to continue playing to unlock the rest. It's a perfect balance to me, whereas Birth by Sleep, for example, didn't have enough in-game content to be engaged after I beat the game. I believe there was only one cutscene, and I felt like the cutscene alone was not enough for me to keep going. Kingdom Hearts 2, I never got to the end, but I heard it has a lot of in-game content, so I'm going to hold off on that one. I think most of 3582 days I have not completed it because I got bored halfway through. I think it was a 358 over 2 days is just like multiplayer or secondary modes as extra content. So I might not be playing that as much either. But yeah. Let's see what else. I want to go back to level designs. There was just some small areas added to 358 over 2 days from the original that kind of make it worth playing just to see what's back there or what's hidden or what's really going on. And the abilities are fantastic. Fast-paced gameplay. The melding ability, the melding commands, that is actually something I actually enjoyed returning. Um, but as I said on the last stream, on Shadow's stream, which by the way, link to his channel in the description. Right here, Shadow. Um, uh-oh. What the? There we go. It's like, and the game is actually pretty long. After I finish this guest podcast, I'm actually going to go stream on Twitch the actual game rather than just sit there. I do think that the graphics compared to 358 over 2 days are kind of lacking. But if you look at the game file compared to 358 2 days, I believe the game file for 358 over 2 days is like 180 megabytes or something like that, or maybe it's 200, something like that, as compared to the let's go look at the file for here it is, 268. Okay, so Recoded has a lot of. Let's check the file size for 358 over 2 days. I could have this backwards actually.
At least I was here. Might not be good or anything, but at least it's hitting. Know what I'm saying?
18.57 megabytes, and that is before unzipping it, I believe. So we're gonna find out.
What? Talking about Helen was
She did a spell. She said she couldn't think of any place around New. She's sitting in a Timbuktu. Is it Kalamazoo?
there's a lot around that shit.
Oh, that's gonna take a minute. Let's see if we can get a different file. Okay, yeah, so it's 187 before unzipping. So, and no, I'm not going to install that. I was just trying to see the file size. Before unzipping this, I believe it was like 60 something megabytes. So imagine what it'd be if you unzipped it with the and let's say that for example 3582 days is a smaller file size than recoded, because at this point I'm not even sure anymore, but let's say it is. That makes you wonder, like,
What they come from?
how is it that 3582 days has a 90% cutscenes and all that, yet what was I going to say? Oh yeah, let's say it is a smaller file size. If it's a small file size, I do believe that's going to put more. It should be larger due to the fact that there is so many cutscenes programmed into it and stuff. I believe the less cutscenes you have, the more the smaller it'll be. And 3582 days is way longer than recoded. I don't understand how that would be a smaller file size. But just in case it is, that means that they put more effort into the story than they did the combat and making it actually playable rather than a playable movie. And then there's the Tetris system. Now, I don't know if I'm going to show y'all what this Tetris system is that I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's gonna be 2 minutes now. Get him, Nala. Get him. Tell him that's your box. You see it? She's gonna kick his ass for going in her box.
This is what I'm talking about with the Tetris system. Each of those boxes, I'm going to zoom in so you can see the outlines. Look at this. Does this really look fun to you? Who wants to spend half their time on the game just trying to fit everything into there just so you can max out your character's power? I sure as hell don't. To me, that's a waste of effort or a lack thereof. And I don't know, man. It just does not feel like Kingdom Hearts to me. Um, let's talk about some of the bosses. I'm going to go through the list of bosses that I know of that were in the game that I can remember. There was, and I'm going to leave the best for last. There was the shadow thing we fought. I forget his name. There was I forget what the Traverse Town boss is. Here.
Timber, Nala wants to play. She's in a playful mood.
The Traverse Town boss is good. I just forget what it is. I think it's a dragon. Not quite sure. Then there is the Olympus boss, which is a two-part boss. There's the three-headed dog, and then there's the Hades. To me, that was fun. You are in a turn-based match, so of course Hades does a little bit more damage than you and can wipe out your party if you're not careful. Uh, but there are something called licenses in Olympus Coliseum, which give you boosts or completely cleared out areas or shows you where pickups are. It's really interesting, and on repeat playthroughs, it gets more and more interesting as you go. The boss in oh, I'm spacing out lately. It's easier to text these things than it is to talk about them. But what was I going to say? Oh yeah. So when it comes to licenses and boss fights in Olympus Coliseum, they really make you strategize and pick and choose which items to use, when to use them, and how to effectively use them in combat. And not only that, but you can use licenses as you go through each level. Now, that is an interesting feature. You have Hercules who can break through certain walls. You have Cloud who he has that sort of vortex move that can like wipe out entire party if you get lucky. Um, there's also something where you can get back attacked, which makes your characters like facing the opposite direction of the boss or of the enemies. And then you have frontal attacks if you attack them first. Like before you go into the fighting sequence, you can swing your keyblade, and then it'll let you do a bonus attack before the actual fight begins. Um, there's also there's just little stuff like that scattered throughout Olympus Coliseum. Uh, next, let's talk about what world is after that. Traverse Town, Olympus, Agrabah. Agrabah is very, very, very fun. So throughout most of the game, they put up barriers for most areas. That way you can't fall off the ledge. Whereas Agrabah actually introduces the ability to fall off ledges that can lead to either a lower level or it can cause you to take damage or even both. The fact is, it is annoying at first, yes, but once you get used to it, it's a neat mechanic. It reminds me of Zelda when. Hold on.
One of them, at least, needs to be fixed. That's the only way to stop that.
So now, what was I saying? Oh yeah. So Agrabah actually adds in quite a few areas, and it expands the the area where you go into the beast mouth. Um, I distinctly remember that you actually fight the giant sand head that is the entrance to that cave. But in either Kingdom Hearts 1 or Birth by Sleep, excuse me, not sure which one, but that was interesting. However, they made up for not having that boss fight by expanding the interior entirely. Oh, I remember where I was. So when it comes to falling off the edges and stuff like that, it's interesting because it reminds me of Zelda, and I'm a huge Zelda fan. When you can fall off the edges, and you have to learn how to keep yourself on even as you take damage, uh, it puts an extra level of strategy into that while pressuring you with combat. And in some cases, there are traps that are trying to harm you or push you off as well, which also add in that risk factor. It's really Zelda-esque. I love it. When you first get into Agrabah, I believe there's like one extra location. You do not actually get to explore the desert itself as you would in some other Kingdom Hearts games, but that is fine with me. Like I said, some of the some of the critique about this game is that it excludes certain areas from the game that it had in Kingdom Hearts 1. The point is, it's not trying to copy Kingdom Hearts 1, it's trying to expand on it, trying to make it better, trying to show you areas that you couldn't go before, or expanding on areas you have visited. That is ingenious. Zelda does that all the time. You enter Spectacle Rock Gray, tell me if I'm wrong, but you enter Spectacle Rock on multiple different Zelda games. You enter it on Ocarina of Time as the Fire Temple. You enter it in A Link to the Past as, I believe, either Turtle Rock or the Tower of Hera. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. Uh, you enter Turtle Rock in A Link to the Past, not Turtle Rock, Spectacle Rock in A Link to the Past. The point is, each time they reuse the assets, but entirely remake the dungeon. For example, I do remember that in A Link to the Past, there actually wasn't. I do know that in A Link to the Past, there actually wasn't a volcano in the center. Rather, it was on a mountain, just a mountain sitting by itself. Can I get that? It was on a mountain sitting by itself out in the open. I don't think you actually go directly into the mountain in um, A Link to the Past, or not as a dungeon, but you go near it. There is quite a few other games. Now, what I love about this is it reuses those aspects, and I could theoretically say that you also reuse Lake Hylia. However, in most of the games, Lake Hylia is kind of in different locations due to uh, either in some cases you just completely are in a new area, for example, Spirit Tracks, stuff like that. But the point is, it reuses areas and reworks them in ingenious ways that keeps the gamers interested and not bored. That's what that's what Recoded is trying to do. So all this critique about it being not faithful or it being a retelling is kind of it's half correct, half incorrect. It shows you the areas that you could have gone if maybe it was released on a later date. It also has its own unique story. And let's talk about the story for a sec. The story is about Jiminy's journal, the journal he made while he was on the adventures with Sora in the very first game, recording each and every world and his actions. Yes, there were some worlds that were excluded, but in my opinion, I prefer that those worlds were excluded than rather having to do those stupid areas in Atlantic or the jungle. Just two of the few examples that there are. And there are very few examples because it has most of the worlds in it. And I'm going to go ahead and prove this to you by going directly on to Google and showing you directly. Gray, can you see? Can you see? Is it showing the chat right now? If it is, that means that I can actually show you. Is it showing the chat? Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and show you the comparison of worlds that were in Kingdom Hearts 1, KH1 worlds. Okay, so you have Atlantica, Wonderland, Deep Jungle, Monstro, 100 Acre Wood, which technically that wasn't even a world, it was more like a mini game thing, I believe. Die to the Heart, we're not going to count. Destiny Isles, Agrabah, Neverland. Okay, that's one I wish they actually added. Traverse Town, Olympus Coliseum, Halloween Town, Hollow Bastion, and End of the World, which I don't. Oh yeah, I remember that now. Yeah, so it excludes End of the World, which End of the World is exclusive to the first game. You have to have at least one exclusive. It excludes End of the World, Halloween Town, Neverland, so that's 3. "100 Acre Wood", Monstro, that's 5. Deep Jungle, and Atlantica. Now, I do agree with them removing most of these worlds, except for Neverland. I feel like Neverland could have been perfect for it. However, Neverland was included in 358 over 2 days, so that makes up for it. Halloween Town, I feel like I did not enjoy, but in case you actually wanted to play it, they also put Halloween Town in 358 over 2 days.
Hey! Lay your asses down.
I do not think Monstro makes a return in either of the DS ports, and hopefully I'm correct because thank God it's not. And Atlantica was not included. 100 Acre Wood, I'm also glad that they did not include, because they have 100 Acre Wood in almost every single Kingdom Hearts game, and it gets stale after a bit, especially with how little you can actually do in 100 Acre Wood. Rather than making its own world, they decide to make it a side area with maybe a few mini games. Monstro. I hated Monstro in every single version, including Chain of Memories. Chain of Memories, I absolutely hated it because it was confusing. The layout was unnecessary. The only good thing about it was that there was a map that could guide you in the correct direction. Other than that, it's just as bad as the first Kingdom Hearts game, because the first Kingdom Hearts game with Monstro did not. Its levels looked exactly the same. Every room looked exactly the same, and you could get lost and confused very, very easily. Deep Jungle was more of a platformer thing, and it wasn't as enjoyable as you would think. So they did not include it in. I don't think they included it in 358 2 days or in Recoded. And to me, that's a good thing. Atlantic, of course, we all know why that wouldn't be included. They even made it a sort of melody beat type style in Kingdom Hearts 2, just because it was so bad. Now we're going to go ahead and look at King 3 Recoded worlds and see what we do have there. Plus, if you think about it, Recoded does include backtracking and extra content after you beat the game, so it is not that big of an issue. Data worlds. Here it is. Blah blah blah. System sectors, money. So you have, of course, Traverse Town. I'm gonna go ahead and highlight that. Oop. You have Traverse Town, Wonderland, Olympus Coliseum. You got Castle Oblivion, Destiny Isles, Agrippa. So yes, and by the way, Hollow Bastion is split into two different playthroughs. So technically, instead of having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, you actually have 8 worlds, which to me for a handheld port is perfect. Although they could have added in Wonderland, I feel like they fell short there. So yes, you have Destiny Isles, Traverse Town, Wonderland, Olympus Coliseum, Agrabah, Hollow Bastion 1, and Hollow Bastion 2, and Castle Oblivion. To me, that is a fully fledged and fleshed out game. To me, that is perfect. I don't know why people feel like it is short when in fact it is not. In fact, Kingdom Hearts, when you actually play the game and go through the entire thing, especially if you intend to 100%, it is a long and enjoyable game. Not too long to be boring, not too short to be still hungry for more. The system sectors are probably one of the most prominent things you'll run into in Kingdom Hearts Recoded. Is that an issue? No, I feel like that is a good thing. It's a new feature. It was added, and it's a one-time game feature. In these system sectors, you can get certain chips and upgrades to put into the matrix to boost yourself. For those who want to do level 1 playthroughs, it is possible. Especially after beating the tutorial world, you can go ahead and set your level down to 0 XP. You can remove any level chips, and then voila, you're set. No. What I will say is, could Recoded be better? Yes. But out of all the handheld ports, which is Birth by Sleep, Chain of Memories, 3582 Days, Recoded, and Dream Drop Distance. I don't know if I missed one, but if I have, I'm sure the console will let me know. So that is Birth by Sleep, Recoded, 3582 Days, Chain of Memories, and Dream Drop Distance. Yeah, that's 5 games. Out of those 5 games, Birth by Sleep is too short, being as you're supposed to do 3 different playthroughs. 3582 Days is a glorified movie, interactive movie. Dream Drop Distance has some bad ratings. I have not played it, but I intend to play it at some point, and then I will give a better rating on that. And then Chain of Memories is basically a glorified card playing game. To me, all of those have major flaws that make the game not as enjoyable, whereas Recoded has a fully fledged out game, a new story, unique story that could fit well within the lore, which is also another reason why Birth by Sleep is overrated. Is it kind of messes with the lore of the original game. In the original game, there was only one Keyblade, and it was the only one in existence, which is the Keyblade, the light Keyblade, outside of the dark Keyblade, which was Riku's. Oh, and another thing, spoiler alert, Data Riku is a unique and interesting boss fight. one of the best in the franchise. Of course, it could be better, but I'm not complaining because it is a handheld game. When it comes down to
Bitch.
what a Kingdom Hearts game is, and without messing with the lore and without it being too short or not enough effort into it, I feel like the devs put more effort into Recoded than they did most other Kingdom Hearts games. And because it was a handheld game that was mostly gameplay, I guess people just criticize it because it is supposedly a retelling. Yet, again, I'm going to keep bringing this up. Yet, Chain of Memories for the GBA, which is in a one-to-one comparison copy of the first game, just traveling through Castle Oblivion. So a different theme, but just the same shit. It's a cop-out, whereas Recoded is its own unique story, better content, better gameplay, better endgame content. You know, there's just so much packed into Recoded, and I feel like people just play maybe the first level or two, and then judge it based off of that. And to me, if you're doing that, you're not giving it the proper chance. You're not rating it accurately, and you're just ruining the game for people who haven't played it. You're making it to where people will trash on the game without even playing it, saying things that they don't even know is true because they haven't given it a shot. I have actually brought this up to multiple YouTubers saying, hey, you should play Recoded, it's one of the best. And then they say, oh, I don't think I ever will because there were such bad reviews and they said it was garbage and the story didn't matter. Just because everything was fixed in the data worlds, the dataverse, and it was all part of a journal, and supposedly didn't matter if Sora died or not because it was a data Sora. My thing is, the corruption was sucking in every single person that got close to it. So this was a major threat. It could have sucked in pretty much anyone it wanted and literally killed them while in game, causing them to die in real life. That is a serious threat. It's like the Matrix. Yet the Matrix gets a lot of love. When you sit here and say the story doesn't matter, it's kind of incorrect. Because Mickey's life was in danger, so was Donald, Goofy's, Jiminy, everyone involved, their life was in danger when they were sucked into the data worlds. My point. Hold on.
On this episode, they took Cole wanted to protect Phoebe, so this inspector that was, or detective that was investigating Prue's death, he took him to like hell when he was standing on the bed, looking at fire and brimstone.
Yeah.
So when it comes down to people saying it doesn't matter, it actually really does matter. Um, Especially if the game is all about memories, friendship, and making connections with people. And when you lose that memory, it's like in real life. I'm going to ask you a question. For example, Gray, when you have a photo of maybe a memory that you had like when you were a kid, and maybe it was one of the happiest memories you've had, and let's say it's on your phone, and you lose that data,
Taking an inspector to hell with that.
Kidnap the priest.
and you lose that data because maybe your phone got messed up, or maybe the the storage got corrupted. Let's say something like that happens to you. Would you actually be able to? Would you actually be okay after that? To me, no. I feel like I lost a part of myself when that happens. When I lose, a recording of something, a happy memory, or a photo of someone I cared about, especially if they passed, it can break me. It makes me feel like I've lost a part of me that I'll never get back. These memories are on a whole new level when it comes to the Kingdom Hearts franchise, because Kingdom Hearts is all about friendship is our power. Friendship makes us stronger. Memories makes us stronger. Without those memories, we don't have those friendships because we don't remember the people that we made friends with. And this further capsulizes, or whatever it's called. I forgot what I was trying to say. It further captures this. Okay, yeah. It further captures. Sorry about that. I kind of had a brain fart. It further captures this once you reach Castle Oblivion at the end of the game, which is actually in content. When Sora enters Castle Oblivion and completely forgets about who he is, who his friends are, but it captures this when he goes to Castle Oblivion. He forgets who he is, who his friends are, and he feels like he knows them, but the more time he spends in Castle Oblivion, the more he forgets, the more he realizes he's starting to lose a part of himself, which also ties into what essentially could be a nobody. A nobody is made when someone loses a heart. When you lose your heart, the nobody is created. All right. This means something had to have happened to maybe lose a friendship or memories or something of the sort. And when you enter Castle Oblivion and you start losing these memories, you feel yourself slipping away into darkness. Sora has to battle these this loss of memory and these feelings internally to come out on top and prove that he is, you know, a wielder of light and will not lose his way. The whole point is that it's not something that you just can brush off. You can't say the story doesn't matter. It has its meanings. And I feel like out of all the games, this game capsulizes how important those friendships are and how powerful those friendships are, how they can help you along the way, and how losing them can ruin you from the inside out. Of course, Chain of Memories does do this in a way, but as in-game content for what it does, Recoded really emphasizes how it can affect you and how it can change you and how you can lose yourself the more you lose your connection with others. I'm going to go ahead and make a personal statement and start with this. A couple years ago, I was in a relationship with someone who who I really shouldn't have been with. Uh, Me and Gray were dating her, and she started off by lying on each of us to each other to try to turn us against each other so that way she'd never get caught cheating. When in fact, she was cheating, being manipulative, lying, and in the end, she cut off the relationship with me and made contact with me, which Gray was a really, really, really close friend at the time. And when I had lost contact with him, it tore me apart. I was not the same. I don't. I didn't have I didn't have photos with him or anything like that, so I couldn't just keep that close or remember him. So it wasn't until recently that he came back after realizing that Maskey is not who we thought she was. We're saying Maskey to protect her identity because even though we are upset by what she's done, we do not expose people's identities, especially on streams. But she started to show her true colors with Gray, and Gray decided to end it. And he came to me, asked me what the true story was, what was going on behind the scenes, and when I explained it to him, he said, and I quote, "It all makes sense now. Ever since I got him back in my life, it's been happier, and I've enjoyed just everything. In fact, I think I've been streaming a lot more since he has returned because I feel like, that lost part of me is back. And that's what Kingdom Hearts is all about, is you lose that power, that will, that motivation that keeps you going the more people you lose, to where eventually you become what is essentially a nobody. A nobody is depicted as someone who doesn't have friends, no memories. You're just alone, and you do anything, just like Roxas. You do anything just to fit in, just to belong, just to have a purpose. And Recoded not only gives you a story about the journal, but it also shows you Data Sora's struggles in the journey as well, especially in Castle Oblivion. It shows that everyone has something to lose, and everyone struggles, no matter who you are, what you do, or what your background is. Everybody's going to struggle, and it's all about the decisions you make and how you go about it going forward that will determine your success or your failures. I love that about Kingdom Hearts, and I love that about Recoded. With that being said, let's talk more about the game. Now, puzzle aspect. There are a decent amount of puzzles in the game to keep you interested without getting bored or, wanting more. For example, I think I've already told this part, but just in case you didn't see it, hear it, I have to emphasize how amazing this puzzle is because Traverse Town is the second world you go into. So by the time you get to Castle Oblivion, you might actually forget about what order you pick up the three ducks in. Louie, Dewey, and Huey. So the way to know what order you picked them up in is to memorize which colors you picked them up in what order. And to get the best ending, you have to remember what order you picked them up in throughout when you visit Traverse Town. Just these little puzzles that tie into other levels, even from the beginning of the game, are what makes it so great. They all tie in together. That on top of the extra content, the revisits, the story, It's fantastic. Sorry, I was doing something. But look, for example, the bosses. When you play the bosses, your first expectation is it's going to be just like the first game, but actually they reimagine it to make it more interesting and different ways to do it. There's the boss where you put them side down, the corrupted dark side, the giant, and I mean humongous. Uh, what's the Kenny? What the hell is the guy's name that's evil in Aladdin? Safar. Okay, yeah. And then there's a giant Safar, and it actually becomes a genie and starts trying to attack you, and then you have to chase down the lamp to suck him back in. There's Hollow Bastion's Riku boss fight is fantastic. Uh, it's really just an amazing game. They reimagine these things and make it more interesting to play, and it doesn't feel like a remake. It feels like it feels like a redo, or maybe just a completely different game altogether. For example, one of the puzzles that's very interesting and why I like Alice in Wonderland so much in Birth don't mind my stuttering. I have a speech impediment. Anyways, one of the things I like about Alice in Wonderland is the fact that you have to collect memories. And this is amazing. You have to collect the memory fragments throughout the game, and then you have to give the right memory fragments to the right characters to be able to proceed and complete that world. And I believe on repeat visits, there are actually more memories that you can collect and give to the proper people. And yeah. And about bosses, they actually have bosses within the data sectors, such as this corrupted block that basically is a snake, and you have to strike it when it's not a certain block because it'll shift blocks. And then once you destroy all the blocks, you attack the head, and eventually it dies. The thing is, there's just so much thought put into the game to make it interesting and worth replaying that I personally forget that it's, as people call, a quote unquote retelling of the original story because it feels so original. And so when people say that it's just a retelling and that it doesn't matter, it really kind of puts me on edge, and it makes me think, does it really not matter? The game is the superior and best way to play Kingdom Hearts on a handheld game. All right, I think I've talked enough and explained all this enough. If you want more explanation, I can go into more details. Well, not more details, but I can do whatever I left out while I stream. With that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed and have a nice day. But before I go, shout out to Gray, Shadow, RNG, and Plasma Trout for being very big supporters and encouraging me to do these streams and slash podcasts, I guess, and just talk about these games that are really fun to play. With that being said, I hope you guys have a nice day, and I will talk to you later. Bye bye.